tell people about this.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome back to another episode of Get Your Nut in the Game. First, starting off with, what is everyone's top 3 square bars? Mine.
Marshmallow, caramel, and chocolate. Chocolate. The chocolate one's too chocolatey. The caramel and chocolate one's on the edge, but marshmallow just perfect.
I've got to disagree on that one. I've got mine, salted caramel and chocolate first. It depends on if I'm in a good mood, it'll be chocolate, but sometimes, like you said, it's too chocolatey. Like having that with my post-workout it's just too much. Like, because I have Cocoa Pops, then I have a chocolate square bar, just way too much chocolate and chocolate protein. So I'd go salted caramel, chocolate, then I'd go for this cookies and cream one. This one.
Oh no.
This one's the only good one that they brought out recently, the newer one.
Quite frankly, you are incorrect, but it's all right.
What's your top 3 then? Go on.
Oh, I'd just rather not eat them, to be fair.
Oh.
So your opinion's pretty invalid then, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. To be fair, my mum used to go to Costco and like get them in bulk, but all they ever did was marshmallow. So I don't really have a valid opinion here.
Exactly. You come in on saying I disagree, and then you don't re-eat them.
Doesn't mean that I'm, I can't have an opinion though, can I?
It's just disgraceful. Anyway, Khifie, that's what I was about to talk about. I refreshed my Instagram. What the fuck's going on here, mate? Talk me through this, because like I went on the Cybex the other day and I sit there for like 5 minutes and I've just got this sheer amount of anxiety in my head, and I'm only doing 4 plates aside. Like, what do you think about before you go into this set? You're the type of person that just don't think about anything, do you? Just go and do it.
Yeah, so like, especially for a set like this where obviously I wrapped up, like the second that I wrap up, I need to go. Like I hate the feel. I hate wearing wraps. Like I hate the feeling of wearing wraps. But I know that, like, obviously I use them like for a purpose, but at the same time, it's like, see, when I've got them on, I immediately just want them fucking off. So again, that's probably one of the biggest things, that I like to just put them on, go and fucking do my set and get them straight off and then die afterwards. But I think for something like this, my main concern last night was just making sure that I had the wraps up higher on my knee. And then whenever I knew that obviously I was going to take it, obviously I knew I was going to take at least 6 reps, and my last warm-up was feeling very good on 6 plates. But once the first one kind of went, I knew that it was just perfect. My feet position and everything was spot on, and my wraps felt like tight enough and high enough. So it was good, and I just fucking just had to go for it.
Doing it in brand new Jordan 6s as well.
That's what I do, mate.
Go on, lads.
It's just
on a quick one, what is your like warm up like? Do you start off with 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, 4 plate, 5 plates? Do you skip a few?
No, I literally just go up a plate at a time. I'm 1 plate. Well, I'll do a leg extension first. That's one thing, because I find with the Cybex hack, it does my knees quite a bit. And if I don't warm up with something like a leg extension, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not fully pre-exhausting. I'm not taking the leg extension to fucking failure or anything like that. I'll do like maybe 12 to 15 reps, and I'll do a couple of sets, and just really get like more or less blood in about the knees over anything. And then I'll go 1 plates all the way up to 7 plates. So just a plate at a time. And then once I get to 4 plates, I'll just drop it to singles. So I'll do 4 plate for 1, 5 for 1, 6 for 1, and then obviously into 7. And on all the way up to 6 plates, I'll do like raw. So no sleeves or belt or anything like that. And then once I go to 6, I do sleeves, and then 7 sleeves and a belt.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
So
I notice on the Cybex, I have to do a little bit more warm-ups. Like, I can't do singles before my top set. I've tried it and it just doesn't seem to work. Annoyingly, I did it the other day, and I got like 4 plates for 8.5, and then I got 3 plates for 20. But I always find the higher rep stuff, I can just go. And the top set, I can never seem to, like, realistically, like 4 plates, between 4 plates and 3 plates, I shouldn't be like doubling the reps there. I don't think I should be doing that. But for me, I just can't seem to I'm thinking now, I'd rather do the higher rep set first, get a groove of it, then do the heavier set. But I just think that takes away from at the same time, I spoke to you, AJ, ages ago about this, and you was like, no, just always prioritize that heavier set first rather than the second set. But that's the only exercise that I feel I can build more momentum on if I do the high rep stuff first rather than the heavier set first, if that makes sense. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, AJ?
I think there's definitely something to be said on the Cybex for like the groove that you can get into. Like, and Keith said it like perfectly in that 7-plate set. When it's on, it's on. When you've got your foot positioning perfect, which like, honestly, I still don't think I have. I still don't know really where my feet should be. I've played about with it so many fucking times, and it's actually beginning to just like frustrate me a little bit, especially with like trying to find a position in which I can feel the most powerful without it being excessive that I'm rolling onto like my midfoot as opposed to my heel, because that's what I always found is that, you know, maybe down to my poor ankle mobility or something like that, I was always sort of shifting onto my midfoot just naturally. That's where I felt the most powerful. That's where I've done my best sets as well, is having feet like ridiculously low on the platform and actually like having my heels come off. That's where I've done my best sets. And I actually got like 0 knee issues off of that either. But I ultimately think, you know, when you find your groove and you get really confident at it, it doesn't matter whether you got, you know, a loading that's going to end you up at like 6 or 8 reps or a set that's going to end you up at 20 plus reps. It's either there or it's not with that thing. And it's also very like day specific. I warm up on it sometimes and I'm just like, fucking hell, like today's not the day. Especially with the heavier sets. Like if you've got fatigue from especially hip hinges that like maybe fall a couple of days prior, unless your like recovery capacity for your lower back is ridiculous, you're gonna unrack it and immediately feel like your brace is like falling apart because your torso and your spine's just fatigued going into it. It's as simple as that. Keith, when you put these when you did that 7-plate set, what was the last 2 days of training look like?
What did I do? Fucking hell, man, that's a question. I traveled the whole weekend. I was across in Perth for like it was over like my birthday weekend.
Your birthday cake.
That
was a fucking cool cake, by the way.
back on Saturday, and shoulders, because I've done Smith press, shoulders on Sunday, and then legs Monday. So
what did you do in back? Did you do any pulls, or did you just
I done barbell rows because we literally like fucking left like first thing in the morning and then never got there till like 3 o'clock and wasn't wanting to like just like fuck about and wait and then train. So just got training done, and then the gym was closing at like 6 o'clock. So barbell rows and done back. So realistically, I wouldn't have took as much like pressure off of that session that I would from say if I'd done like deadlifts. But then it allowed me to obviously be even more fresh for shoulders, and then obviously I was able to. I'd done on Smith press, I'd done over the head for 3 plates for I can't even remember, 9 or 10. It was a good couple of reps up from what I've done on the Cybex anyway, because obviously that was back on Cybex press again. But then again, came back Sunday night and actually had a overnight spa thing. So like literally got like full fucking treatment and all that. So I'm saying that's allowed me to go to more fresh.
There it is. If we reverse engineer, we're always going to find Keith is having spa treatments prior to these TVs.
Let me just add something. It's going to become regular.
Yeah, I bet, man. For you need that kind of shit.
Fucking right.
I have one more question on the Cybex before we maybe change topics. I've seen you over the course of the time that you've spent on that machine play about with foot angle quite significantly. So when you started, you had quite a narrow, but also quite a straight foot angle. So you were pretty much like that. And now you've I think you've got more accustomed to where you're strong, and you seem to have adopted probably like a similar stance to your back squat. Am I right in saying that? Like a little bit more toe angle?
Pretty much. I'm pretty much sitting just inside the shoulder width mark, and my feet are like slightly out. And that
that's the best place.
The biggest thing that's actually allowed me to do is keep my heels flat. And I really feel as if like, not that I took very strong sets with my heels coming up and I was totally fine with it, but I actually feel as if I'm more like heel dominant over anything else. I feel as if I get more like
out of your glutes and out of the
Yes.
drive from keeping your
Yeah.
heels planted. Yeah, I understand.
So
Yeah, I'm just
But-
watching this now, mate. Keith, is your birthday today?
nah, it was Sunday.
Sunday? Oh, fucking hell. I swear I saw on Instagram earlier it was your birthday. I was like, fuck, he's doing it on his birthday.
Nah, bro, I just keep fucking sharing everything.
So obviously you went and saw Vicky at the weekend.
Yeah.
So what's the plan of action now from Monday, I'm guessing?
We'll go. That's prep. We're firmly on our way to the British finals. I don't know calories or macros or anything like that. I've never took anything to do with that, so it'll probably just remain that way. If anything, my food will get changed. It'll probably come down the way, but I'm not even in that kind of position where I want to be like, right, I'm going to search this up and I'm going to see how many macros I'm taking in or what my calories are at. Do you know what I mean? Regardless of many people ask me, it's going to fucking stay the same. I've got a plan. I'll follow that plan, and that'll be it.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll probably do like a video that I've done countless times of the exact same food that I eat, and that'll be it. Here we go. I'm eating sweet potato again. Full shocker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's just the kind of way it is. She's very happy with how things are, and I think we've got time. Do you know what I mean? So it's a good place to be. And everything went to plan. So
how many weeks is that? How many weeks is the final now?
Finals from this week actually, I think comes in at like 28 weeks or something.
Yeah, I thought it was 28. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's quite a bit of time, but it's like in the end, when back in 2020, I think because obviously the shows got put back a little bit, we had like between 26 and 28 weeks, and that got me like where I needed to be. So we've just really went off of that, and then depending what happens this year, if we end up having more time, we could put food back up.
Do you think there's anything that you're going to be doing differently this time round compared to last prep, or very much the same?
Pretty much the same. Everything's just going to be the exact same.
I mean, it's worked. You know, you've been very good at what you've been doing. You still move like what fascinates me is you can still move some incredible numbers and also be very lean at the same time. Like I just think about having that weight on my back, and I just think, fuck me, my joints would just fall apart. But you seem to be. I don't think you don't even think about it, do you? You just do it, and that's what I love about it.
It's hard because as much as obviously, in a way that I know, obviously I do lift weights that's maybe like at a different level to other people, right? But in a way, like it's really irrelevant at the end of the day. Like I don't really give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? Whether I was doing 7 plates on the hack or I was doing 2 plates on the hack. If 2 was my top set, 2 would be my top set. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't really ever think about much things like that. And to be honest with you, like lifting heavy weights, and lifting heavier weights, it doesn't drive me towards anything else. Like I don't get a kick out of doing more than somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It's just that's just my training, and that's literally it. Like it's a hard one. Do you know what I mean? I know that people could get a kick out of being able to do fucking X amount of weight on something, but like as long as I know I'm the strongest that I can be, and if a set's there on the day, then I'm more than definitely going to take it. Like realistically, 7 plates on the hack's not going to be there every fucking week. Like, you know what I mean? There's going to be weeks where I'm going to go in and my warm-ups are going to feel horrendous, or I'll put 7 plates on and it'll not even move for one. But it's pretty much the same on like all kind of bigger movements. They're more or less unpredictable. Do you know what I mean? Especially even things like barbell moves, deadlift.
Potentially that's why, touch wood, you've been relatively injury free.
Yeah.
There's quite often stuff like that happens when people are chasing numbers off other people. You know, if you're just progressing within yourself, that number is probably there, and you know if it's not that day, and you're not chasing a number for no reason at all. So I think that's quite smart for you, to be honest.
AJ, how was your session today, mate?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, mate. Yeah, on a good run with presses. Must be honest. I think it's probably the body part that's actually in terms of just pure performance, like progressing the most.
Yeah.
So
I'd say it's probably come up the most, to be honest, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Well,
like physique wise.
If that's what you think, Jacko, then I'm happy with that. I'm a bit blind at my own physique at the moment, mate. If I'm honest, like I don't really know what I'm looking at because ever since I've come out of that contest prep, I've just not really been happy with any of the shots, because I sort of I in my head I kind of compare how I'm looking to when I was reversing out of 2020, and both are completely different in the sense that out of 2020 I was like ready to go straight into a gaining phase, very fresh, no like massive dump in testosterone. I was feeling like just great. So the main recovery aspect of the prep is skewed the look quite significantly on the way up. But I think the last progress photos, which actually when you were looking at me there, Jack, was probably the first time where I'd been like, okay, this is kind of how I should look at this weight, rather than looking worse than I should look at a certain weight, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm now, where am I now? 33, 34 pounds up from stage weight. So this is where things like this happen.
The magic happens.
40s are a back off. I'm almost closing in on 50s for the high incline. This still needs to be better in terms of strength.
Look at that bar speed. That wasn't a lag at all, that was it?
Yeah. And there's probably a lag on that. But yeah, I think one thing that, like Keith mentioned it with his hacks, and he's something that I always see in Keith's training is just that like sort of air of confidence when you unracks a barbell or puts the dumbbell up. And that's something that I think throughout prep, I kind of developed this tendency to move delicately in my presses, because I was trying to protect performance so much that I knew if I rushed an eccentric and I lost brace, it was fucked. A sub 160 pounds, everything just felt really difficult to stabilize. So I've kind of been used to this like more slow, controlled tempo across a lot of movements. What's that? What's that?
What's that? I don't know what that means.
Shut up. That I've kind of like I've kind of been locked in that mindset a little bit, but now I'm getting back to like kind of the tempos that I like training at, which is, again, like Keith said, when it's there, it's there. And these were there today. I felt like there was no risk, no lack of confidence. And I know that pretty soon I'm going to be doing 50s for same number of reps, and that'll be the strongest I've ever been here. So that's good. That's where we need to be.
Just a quick question for myself, like in terms of like this high incline setup,
of course,
like, do you think that this is, because as you can see, like some people would question this is more of like as you can see, maybe your glutes are just a little bit forward from the bench here at the back. Sure. Would you say like for most people, like this is how you should high incline, or would you say more of an upright position would be better? Or is there any particular reason why you're doing it in this particular fashion? Because I've done this sort of press before, and I just noticed that I progress it very well and I can lift more loading. But I also noticed that after a while, I start arching my lower back, my glutes start rolling forward, and then it turns to more of an incline press. Is that something that you are going to maybe be cautious about when you do get up to the 50s? Because you're progressing it very quickly right now. Sure. But is it very much standardized across the whole sort of, progressions that you've made so far? You've not been almost sliding down the seat or arching the lower back a little bit more. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. No, that makes sense. A totally like rational point. So first point of reference is the high incline. Yep. So high incline for me is about dumbbell travel. So where's the dumbbell traveling, and is that dumbbell travel pretty vertical? Because let's face it, on an incline dumbbell press, the dumbbell travel relative to like the arm path, etc., is probably not going to be as vertical as this. So it doesn't really matter where the bench height is. It's more so where the dumbbell's traveling and how the arms follow suit. So for me, this is upper chest and anterior delt. Like I'm not going to be able to totally take away upper chest. It's going to be involved. Mm-hmm. In terms of the angle of like my glutes or the angle of my back and then the arching. So if I was to sit flush on the bench, I'm sure like plenty of people have probably tried to sit flush on a bench. You'll soon realize that position is probably a little less strong than a position where you arch slightly and you dig your upper back into the back of the bench. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot so what I'm looking for is that position isn't consistently getting worse over the course of the set. So if I see my glutes coming away further and further and further and further, and then I'm using like almost like hip drive to get a final rep or a progression, then I probably would look to maybe hold that for a little bit before I progress. At the end of the day, I'd rather see me using hip drive and throwing my absolute all into a rep than trying to remain perfect for the sake of keeping my glutes on the back of a bench. If I'm feeling pain in my lower back, okay, cool. I'm probably going to take a load reduction and say, like, this form's getting to the point where I'm actually going to get hurt. But if I feel safe, I'm going to keep rolling with it. Yeah, and that's really it. So I think my positioning is just to create as much stability as possible. I think the bench angle is just because it feels comfortable for that sort of high incline setup. If I go much higher, I find that I'm like struggling to keep, I guess, the right elbow path, because I always end up like going pretty almost like pretty stacked with my shoulder joint, or even worse, I start traveling into this position here. So I start traveling backwards with a much higher incline. So that's just personally what I've found. I've done higher inclines than that in the past. But that's what I think, at least.
How's it been with Loz back to full training? I'm sure that's given you a bit more, because seeing her more motivated, maybe giving you a bit more of a push.
I think push wise, it's I think I'm quite intrinsically motivated. Like I'm always ready to train. I'm always ready to go and get after what I want to go after in the gym. I think more so it's just like for me personally, it's just nice to see her training, because her training means just the same that my training means to me. It's like the best part of the day in a lot of ways. It's what keeps you sane in a lot of ways. It's so damn important. So it's just nice to see her back, mate, to be honest.
Sure. Jack.
She's also probably nice around the house because of it as well.
To be honest, I actually will give her 100% credit here. I don't know how she did it, but she was just unbelievably level-headed the whole time. And I'm not even bullshitting. I'm not saying that for the podcast. If I had that done and I had to rest the amount she had to rest, and I had to come and watch sessions, which point blank, I wouldn't have been able to do. I wouldn't have visited the gym if I wasn't able to train. I would have gone insane, and I would have probably at some points taken out on her, bottom line. Like, I just would have been shit to be around, put it that way. And she wasn't. So yeah, kudos on that front.
Jack, prep, tell me when, because we've obviously been speaking about it and you're recently toying it with me. Like, I'm going to start now. I was going to start today, drop my food. When's it going to be,
behind your back?
Have you started yet?
No, I didn't do it on the slide last night. I did toy with the idea, because the first drop is literally just going to be from my last meal. So it came to yesterday, and I thought, you know, I might do it, but I think I'm going to hold off until next week. I know, AJ, I've spoken to you. George, I've spoken to you. I spoke to Cuba a few days ago as well. Mm-hmm. And like, yes, 20 weeks is a decent amount of time, but 22 weeks as opposed to 20, it doesn't seem a lot, but it can make a massive difference. Those 2 extra weeks.
2 weeks.
You know, that, not that I don't think I'm going to struggle to get in condition, but that could really help.
Yeah.
But also I'm seeing it more of potentially 2 weeks that could take some stress off my shoulders, in terms of like, if I'm ready in those 20 weeks, those 22 could potentially allow me to sort of alleviate some stress and look a bit fresher on stage. Not that I ever, in previous shows, I don't think I've ever felt like sort of stressed or depleted too much going into a show, but you know, this is 5 years later on, so it could be a completely different story. But yeah, I am probably most likely going to start on Monday. So this weekend's kind of like the last, I think, planning. Not that I'm really bothered about like the final meal going out or whatever. I couldn't care less, but I think planning on a few things. But then, like, I've already got all my drops planned out on my phone. So I know normally you take the piss out of me because I'm in an hour in about where to take food off and everything. I've almost like planned the next few drops, where it would come from, so I know already. Not that you can plan too far ahead, but I kind of know roughly where things are going to come from and stuff. And like, I've got quite a lot to play with, because for the past month since being up here, I mentioned this before on the podcast, my steps have been 3,000 a day. My cardio has been non-existent, even though before it was, you know, 3 times a week. Steps were at 6K, which still isn't a lot, but I've got plenty to sort of play with when I start prep. And I think just by getting back to that normal routine of cardio and steps in, along with a little food drop, I think that'll see me coming down nicely tomorrow.
Yeah, because I've actually noticed, like outside of training, you don't do much.
I haven't done any.
Honestly,
I haven't
yeah,
done any.
you don't do much. Like I've not seen you do one cardio session here, which I was quite surprised about actually, because I know you was.
I've done one cardio session since being up. I've done one.
Okay, but I thought you'd be, because I remember you was toying with it. I'm going to do cardio, and I've just not obviously seen it. I've gone, okay, cool. Like he's preparing for his prep, which is good to see.
But come Monday, you will. Well, I'll try and make sure you don't see it because I'll be keeping it on the hush. I won't want to wake you up or anything. So, but not. I can't see it. I can't see like me waking you up doing it though. To be honest. So.
Mate, you got to do what you got to do. It's not a problem at all. Like I've said, if anything, it's going to motivate me to say, right, fucking, because I want to start getting into a bit of a habit of even just finishing my days sort of earlier. Like I'm starting to do that now. Like
you have been, yeah, you have.
Obviously, we spoke about last week about going to bed earlier. I've been pretty much going to bed at 9 o'clock and falling asleep at 9:30. So I've definitely been just making sure now that I'm preparing for that. So it's definitely something I want to do as I get deeper into prep is get up a little bit earlier. Not 4:30, but probably 5 is probably a good time for me. And normally, like I wake up when you wake up when you go downstairs anyway, so I'm already kind of half awake then. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for me to change that. But
one thing I think we do need to sort is check in spots where in the house you can do that potentially, because like I don't really want to be doing them outside. I don't know how much room we got in the front room.
See, so, I don't mind doing outside. I'm all right with that. I prefer the sort of outside sort of look.
My issue with that is just lighting. That's the thing.
Yeah. I don't mind when it's cloudy and it's kind of got like this sort of, I don't know, I just think it looks better myself.
Yeah, you did get some grainy pictures. I remember that in like the darker sort of back garden pictures. I remember those.
I think
the outdoor pictures are pretty.
Caitlin, you take yours outside, don't you? We always see it next to the car.
I go out in
the drive in front of the car.
Rain. I stand on my drive and like school kids fucking walk past every morning, like staring at me. I'm like, what?
Could they imagine seeing you? Imagine them seeing you. They'd be fucking. I'd run. I'd fucking run because
you'd run. Brilliant.
I'm like, fuck this shit.
I get like crackheads walking past as well at like 7 a.m. because obviously we're like in Leeds, so there's like crackheads walking past. And I don't know.
In prep, they probably ask you to join in.
But yeah, outdoor check-ins.
Keith, I've seen you. I remember your front garden classic ones in the front garden next to the grass.
The immaculate lawn.
Yeah,
that is
Scottish lawn.
I would only ever favor fucking outside check-ins. I would do anything for an outside check-in. Like honestly, probably got ill loads of times because the weather was that bad, and I was just literally out standing in puddles to try and get like a fucking front lat spread spot on, and then I would come back in the house and I would look at it and go, oh, fuck, I could have done something better there, like my lat wasn't out or something, and I would go back out and take another one.
Is it me, or was it never actually cold when you went out?
No, it was freezing because I always had to get up at like, it was like 5:30, 6 to try and beat the sunlight, because the second that the sun came out, it would just wash me out, and I had literally nowhere else to take them, because any other way, like where my house was, it was literally the sun would just beam across, and it was either a case of get up when it is pretty much still quite dark and just patiently wait on the darkness like lifting a little bit, or like wait another 2 or 3 hours to let the sun move and get pictures. And by that time I was just starving, so I was literally out in like the rain and everything like that. But I mean, it got some pretty cool shots, and again, I always favored it because of like more or less natural light over anything, and anywhere in the house, like I could never be arsed trying to find somewhere to get a picture. So
AJ, I was going to ask you on the spot, obviously you saw me when was it, Friday? I can't remember now what day it was, and you was like, I'm unsure when you're going to start prep, and that left me like, I went home to Jack and I was like, AJ said he's unsure, and I'm like, what the fuck do I like, what do I do? Obviously I'm going to be checking in with you tonight anyway, but I thought I might as well just ask you right now, sort of What's my plan of action? Because I'm
Live
I'm on edge.
exclusive.
No, we're keeping it the same, man. We're keeping it the same. Obviously, I looked at you the other day post workout because that's what we kind of said last check-in. We sort of said, like let's have a look in person, see how things are sitting, and take it from there. And we had that sort of back and forth conversation, which I think is really important when you're sort of deciding these things, especially with your sort of history with prep. It's we know when you're there, it's a case of you can get there pretty quick, you can change pretty quick, your body comes in fast. But when you're there, it's a case of even I think even when we control, the environment around that, it's a case of you do fade significantly by holding for a period of time much longer than like 6-7 weeks. So we just don't want to let that happen again. And I said it to you again. The other thing that I think is an important remark is no one remembers who wins qualifiers. Everyone remembers who wins British titles. So if we don't win a qualifier, I quite frankly can give a shit, because even if you get beaten at a qualifier, I will turn around and I will say, honestly, whether you have a chance of beating that individual at the finals. And I think for the most part, if you were, say, 10% off and someone beat you, it would take some very genetically gifted athlete to beat you at that moment. And if they did, like I said, I'd be honest. And if you didn't stand a chance, I'd be honest. But if you were going to push that individual with being, 10% better, I'd be like, right, this is exactly why we did this. So a second place for a lot of people can quite easily turn into a win at a British final, and it can also turn into a win at a world final. There was a guy called Gerard in 2019, who was actually second at his qualifier. He actually ended up getting second at the finals as well, but because Andrew Chappelle was already a pro, he kind of like turned pro and went to the Worlds. But then Gerard went to the Worlds as well and got invited, and then he won a world title and he won a pro card, but he came second at his qualifier. No one remembers that he came second at a qualifier. Everyone remembers that he got his pro card. So like that's what we're looking for, mate. Is we're looking for the the best version of yourself in we're looking at 32, I believe, out from the UK FBA finals. So that's a long haul. And if that's the main target, we're not starting 32 weeks out. We don't need 32 weeks for that.
100%. So that's cleared up. I can go to bed now and relax. Remember Adam Powell, was it 2019?
Adam Powell.
In his qualifier, I think was it the Scottish? Third place. Looked very, very average.
Maybe second, maybe third.
Yeah, either one. And then came to the finals, completely different person, completely different person. And
he actually grew. I genuinely think he grew there. He grew and it also got leaner. I don't know how he did it, but Jack's done a similar thing at early qualifier and then a short stint of a surplus and then back into a diet. And obviously Keith's the king of competing every year and looking drastically different. So, these things can be done, but every natural seems to think that it's not possible. So,
What's everyone thoughts on the Arnolds just gone on the weekend? I wanted to highlight upon that. Did you predict it going the way it did, or was you a little bit surprised? I was definitely surprised for sure from what I saw.
I wasn't surprised by the winner, but I wasn't, honestly, I wasn't surprised by the judging either, if I'm honest. Like, it seems to be if you're of a certain level, it's like you get you have to knock out the champ proper hard to knock them out. People can reign as a result of being previous champs, because I think maybe judging panels think that it's going to be less argument by a previous winner being a consistent winner. I don't know whether that is probably the bias, maybe. I'm not sure. But again, with these shows, you can never, ever, ever tell unless you're sitting there on the judging panel. So, Curry had some shots that arguably are pretty dominant in terms of shape.
Yeah.
He has better shape than Bonac, but he's arguably got a great degree of muscularity.
Buys and tries, I think, are the best ones.
Buys and tries, yeah. I was just actually just gonna get like this fucking shot. This cross crazy. I just
It is good, but then if you look at Bonak's side shot, it's
Bonak's side chest is unbelievable.
He hasn't.
Unreal.
I don't think. Oh no, I've gone the Bison
Crap one
tries.
of Bonak
Bison
there.
tries nuts.
Would Nick Walker have won in this lineup?
Oh,
Ooh.
Did you see the Nick Strength and Power video where they put pictures of Nick in every single pose?
No.
No, I haven't seen that. I don't know actually.
They put a pretty good like comparison of him in every single pose, and
Oh, wow.
I think Nick.
look at that.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Everyone was shitting on
One
him.
was like massive.
Yeah.
He was very good. You know what? He was working with Chad Nichols now for
Chad
this
Nichols,
one.
Yeah.
On his back shot, back double. Look at that.
Like, just look at the
Glute developments off the chin.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
It just goes to show that, I think he's in his 40s now, isn't he? And everyone was saying how, he's gonna be downsized, the legs. But when you look at this and considering how short he is as well, he's so compact and so dense. And it motivates me a little bit because he's got quite short limbs as well. But you can just see it, feels it out.
I can see the similarities, George. Skin color, hair.
Yeah, fuck it. I might have the glutes. I've got fantastic glutes. Look at that.
You have got a great ass.
I know. All right. Okay. But yeah, he looked fucking crazy.
Bit of gyno though. Bit of gyno.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
Go to the side chest.
Go on the side chest.
Yeah, that right pec in it.
Yeah.
That needs to be tidied up. That's honestly, that's maybe a reason why he perhaps got knocked, because they really don't like that.
No.
They really don't like that.
Especially on a pro stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brett, what I really like about Matt, and I was watching Brett's videos leading up to it, he's probably one of the only coaches that sit down and actually will talk about his thoughts and what's going on. I think that's a really good sort of unique, because these top level guys, you never really see obviously you see the ins and outs, but you never really get the coach sitting down and talking about what exactly is going on. I think he just, I don't know, he was eating a lot of food, wasn't he, prior to like I said, when I was watching the podcast, he was just eating for like an hour and a half straight. It just didn't.
It's a shame, because I think the last show that he did, he actually looks better.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you come in 10 pounds bigger, but with not a great peak. You actually look 10 pounds softer.
Yeah, I think Jansen, he's renowned for nailing peaks, and I think that's potentially one of the first ones that he really hasn't nailed.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen. You can't nail it every time, and like you said, the problem is he's 10 pound heavier. That's almost a completely different human at that stage. So the peaking protocol is going to be completely different there. So exactly. I don't know. Is he doing more shows this year?
I hope so.
Yeah.
You think he would be?
I hope so.
In that shot, who catches your eye the most?
Samson, right away.
By a mile.
Look at the shape and what I really like about Samson is his waist is still very controlled. It's still very small considering the size of, he's just like, if you look at everyone else's. He's got great potential. I think if he really wanted to, there's some shots that he lacks sort of, especially from the rear, I noticed, just lacks that sort of density compared to others. But I think if he really, really wanted to, he could be up there. He could really, really be up there. Yeah, wow, so impressive. Who was the most standout for most people on the weekend in terms of just physique? Who was the most impressed by?
Sid Gillen.
Yeah.
If you go on her, I don't know if she's got any stage pictures.
She's got a few. I know that's a little bit obviously I do figure, but she's not getting beaten until she retires, really.
No. Her glutes are fucking crazy as well. Where are we? Down. Can I even see this? What am I seeing? I can't even see the heads. That's annoying. Whatever.
You're just looking at bikini and wellness.
There's no figure on there, is there?
Not there.
No,
never.
There. Oh well, whatever.
Right.
Cool. I enjoyed that. We were looking at the times, Jack, and it was a thing, should we stay up? And it was like fucking 2 a.m. I was like, no way in hell. We're not waking up for that sort of shit. I don't know what to talk about. How long have we been on for? I didn't put a question box out That was stupid because all you guys like, I was like, when's everyone free? Like today? And I was like, oh, fuck it now. Like a bit of a late notice from me. So I'm a little bit like, fuck, what do we do? Any topic? Anyone?
Well, no, just think about, so we talked about the Arnolds. What shows have you got coming up in terms of, I know we've got two bros over here. It's the first show of the year, isn't it? In 2 weeks' time, Kingdom Classic.
Yeah.
I think so.
14 days out.
Whoever's doing that show, that could be a very, very long season for them. You know, it always amazes me that people do shows in February if they have any intentions of doing qualifiers later on in the year, like pro
Yeah, that's
qualifiers.
insane. You'd have to split that year. You'd have to obviously do a Feb show and then come back out and come back down, which I think is it's a hard thing to, obviously we just chatted about Adam who did that in 2019. So it can work, but it can also just be an incredibly stressful year of competing and a battle with your body, because you could get one instance where you nail it and then the next where you're actually worse, and that's the worst thing because you've literally just wasted maybe 8 or 9 months of training and nutrition. It's not much worse than that. So yeah, difficult one.
I couldn't do that thinking about it. Like I couldn't go then from competing then reverse and then coming back down in the same year. Just like mentally for me, that's just a no. I'd rather do the shows at the back end of the year myself.
Well, this is the first time for myself that I'm not doing an earlier qualifier. Like normally I'd be like July time. So for me now, I'm kind of like with this year, I'm like putting all my eggs in one basket in the fact that later qualifier, and also I need to nail conditioning for that show. Whereas this time, even though I did do fairly well in terms of conditioning previously, I knew I always had, if I missed it, I'd had a few more weeks and I could do another show and that. So it's kind of something new for me as well. So I feel a little bit of pressure in that regards because I have one time scale and that's it. I need to nail it for that one. So I don't know, that's something new for me. But I'm sure this is why I kind of want to do the 2 weeks extra. But should be all right.
I'm really excited to live with you, mate. I can't lie. Like I know you said that in last week. You said that you're not like sort of in that sort of 6th gear at the moment in terms of it. But I'm just looking to see kind of how you change, because we know, like even just me when we was reading the YouTube comments on my recent video about you, I know that it doesn't phase you one bit. But I'm just interested to see kind of what happens. Just even our relationship.
It does phase me. It gets me fucking really aggy, mate. Because just because I'd love to know who's behind every one of those and just laugh at how like pathetic they are. Do you know? But it doesn't get to me, but I'd like to just humiliate them more than anything. That's the reason why. But
welcome to YouTube.
I was saying to George earlier, AJ, YouTube comments are the worst. I don't know what
YouTube's scary.
It's because it's literally a completely blank profile.
Yeah,
they've got nothing on there at all. Whereas Instagram, sometimes they've got followers, sometimes they've got a post or two, but on YouTube they got nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone that was commenting was the same person that had 2 accounts, because the word clown, unless I am really a clown, the word clown kept on coming up multiple times.
It was just the main thing. People, I don't know if anyone's watched it, but Jack was hammer culling the 45 kilo dumbbells, which is fucking nuts, by the way, just being able to throw that sort of weight up. And I was just thinking to some of these guys, like the guys that were shitting on your form, like you go and try it yourself, try and see if you can lift that weight up. And 99% of them are not going to, and that something that I said
they'd be RDLing that set.
Yeah, exactly. Probably couldn't even do that. And that's what I was saying to you, Jack, like the other day, like because obviously you've been featuring on my channel a lot more recently, and obviously we do a Q&A that's going live tomorrow, which is pretty funny. I just I said to you, like with YouTube, like don't read into the comments much, because it's so easy to get triggered by these sort of people that sit there and at the end of the day, they're watching, they're still shitting on you. Like I just, in my opinion, that's why sometimes I get a shit ton of hate. I try and like kind of ride it and kind of take the piss of it. So it keeps people engaged, keeps people watching. So that's what I always say to you, mate, don't look too much into that sort of stuff, because it is a bit.
Well, if you clickbait your next video, Jack tears his bicep, it'll go off the fucking chain. With like, let guys capture a picture of me like holding a 50-kilo dumbbell at the top of a kill. Use that as the thumbnail, and it'll blow up.
What fascinates me about you, Jack, is like even on the adductor machine, like you're doing 10 plates on there, and you'll just comfortably have one leg off of it and just balancing that sort of weight on just pretty much one leg.
It's not right, man.
It's
Every time I watch that, I'm like,
you love the
fucking
400-kilo
hell.
leg press, holding it with one leg. That's
yeah.
That baffles me. Like, it's
Not right.
The worst though is it's not even out for like a split second. It's like a good 2 or 3 seconds, and then it's back in.
And the isometric.
Continue to rip it.
Yeah. Jack, I was going to ask you because obviously I pose with you a fair bit at the moment, and sometimes you getting into poses, it's like sort of reset, kind of get the shoulder out of place. I was thinking like when you're on a stage, like, do you think about like any of that at all? Can you just hit the pose? Because imagine the way I see it is imagine you sort of popping your shoulder, and everyone's in their pose, and they're just waiting for you to get into that pose. I was thinking they're going to say,
"Oh, Vicky, hold it there a sec. Hold it a sec." No, I do think about it. I do worry about it a lot, if I'm honest. But one thing I will say is, or a few things, you see me pose after training. So obviously during the session, I have niggled it a bit. When I pose fasted, it is better. But also at the same time, if it starts to frustrate me, it gets worse. So like I remember I've been posing with like back when I was at home and my mum would do my pictures. If it got in my head and it started to wound, like if I was having a bad day, I've had numerous run-ins with her because she'd be standing there waiting to go out on her day, and she'd be like, "Jack, can you hurry up, please?" And I'd like outburst. I'm not doing it fucking deliberately, am I? And I'd start like having to go at her. No, like I do worry about it, but it is a lot better. I tell you what, like the way you see me with it, it's a lot better than it used to be, like 10 times better. And like, before any shows, I will make sure that I probably have treatment a few days before in terms of making sure everything's opened up. And no, I think I'll be all right. And I kind of have to be at the end of the day, you know. So we'll see. And I've been doing it for so long. Sometimes I can do it pretty quickly and discreetly without you even like clocking onto it. So unless you're like looking for it, unless I'm like jumping around, popping my hip. But with my shoulder, I can do that pretty quickly and you wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are, when I do take your photos, you are very demanding. Very demanding. But I see it. I'll wait quickly. I need to see
You're
it.
going to fall out at some point with these fucking
The
outdoor
problem is, the problem with me is I talk really aggressively and like I order things, but it's not deliberately. It's because it's like in the moment. And that's just like, even when I'm talking now, it's quite aggressively, but that's just how it comes out. So
I was in the gym the other day and he came over and he went, "If you just spot, I'll give you one." I was like, yeah.
But it's like what you said about that guy who jumped on the leg extension the other day. Like I literally looked over at him and said, "There's 3 plates sat on that machine," and he looked at me like I was going to kill him. And also like I didn't bring it up last week, but I nearly got in a altercation.
I'm not surprised.
Outside of the posing room last week because I went to go in the posing room. There was someone in there. Fair enough. So I waited like 10 minutes, knocked on the door. Oh yeah, it would be 2 minutes. I waited 2 minutes. And by that time I thought, oh, do you know what? I don't care. So I left, carried on training. I went back up 10 minutes
During
later.
the session then.
Yeah, carried on. It was intra-session. I had to document the chest bump, AJ. Come on.
Of
Anyway,
course. I see you come down from there halfway through your training.
Beyond the point. Went back up there and someone else was waiting to go in. And I said, "Oh, is it free or are they still in there?" And they said, "Oh, no, they're still in there." So I left. Watched that boy then 5 minutes later walk out. So I thought he'd gone in, finished posing, come back out. So I went up there to find out that he'd left because they still hadn't come out. So this was clocked up to about 25 minutes now. So I knocked on the door and they said, yeah, 2 minutes. And I thought, right, this is their last chance. So I waited 2 minutes, didn't come out. So I didn't even knock. I opened the door and there were 2 lads in there. And I said, "Boys, you've been in here 25 minutes now. You said 2 minutes about 20 minutes ago. They both looked at me and they went, yeah, we'll be 2 minutes. And I was like, the problem with me is it's either take it like a little bitch and just take it, or it's fucking you're having it. So I went, okay. And I walked off because I would have just fucking gone. So
Bloodbath in the posing.
Could you imagine just walking in and Jack's just fucking slaughtered everyone in there? And they're like hanging from the ceiling.
and that's me, fat,
People
chubby.
coming out in body bags.
That's me, happy, chubby off season. Do you know what I mean? Like me at say 6 weeks out, that's a different matter.
So basically,
I need to rein that in.
You mate, you're gonna get in trouble.
Motto of that is like when Jack's 6 weeks out, just don't.
Nah, but they were taking the
Don't go in the posing room.
It was like honestly, it was half hour. Both of them moderately shapeless, to be honest. Like, but you find that, don't you? If they were in shape bodybuilders, they probably would have been 5-10 minutes because
they'd probably get straight out. They'd be like, "Oh, it's your turn, mate." You know, go in. Yeah. It's the people trying to get like Instagram reels with that like shadow lighting.
Who does that?
AJ, I've seen you been on the reels lately. Like,
oh yeah.
Honestly, sometimes they just blow up. Like, I don't know how, I don't know why. It's just
the algorithm, innit? I think
I've tried to get on them, but I just can't seem to. I don't know. It just isn't me. Like, I don't seem to. I don't know.
I find them quite fun when it comes to like, because I always used to, before I had, you know, guys doing the YouTube for the edits and stuff. I always used to like quite like.
Hi, Caitlin.
Oh yeah, see you in a bit. I've actually literally got to leave in a bit. See you in a bit. I'll see you in a bit. I actually quite like sort of doing the edits and like putting like cinematic music in the background and stuff.
Have you seen you can add farts on top of them now?
Well, to be honest, that doesn't quite fit the bill in terms of this cinematic build-up that I'm looking to like achieve. If I put like a fart noise at the bottom of a hack or something, I'm not sure it's going to get the same response.
But they've got like little, so you can add like little things in. So there's like fart, trumpet, wolf whistle, round of applause. You can do a round of applause.
Oh, great! Brilliant.
Like,
brilliant. Well, my reels about to become a lot better than they already are. But yeah, mate, I think like Loz was doing them, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. That looks fun, kind of thing. And then like she showed me her insights on them, and they're pretty mad. You know, they like the amount of views and whatever.
Her interaction's very good anyway, though. She gets a lot of interaction.
Oh, she does. Yeah, she always has. To be honest, like she's always had a pretty like strong interactive following.
Girl power, International Women's Day. Yeah.
People fucking love it. But yeah. Enjoying them. I'll do them now and again on a rest day or something like that when I've got something that I feel like actually is gonna like something that I would like to see on my page rather than just an annoying reel that's gonna irritate people with the same noise coming on again and again and again. So if I find something that I'm excited
Talking
about,
to the moon.
like that one, fuck me, literally bone out the window when I hear that stupid song. You're going to do it now, Funny.
All three of us do it.
Yeah.
Jack was Googling.
He just re-uploads his hack with that horrible song.
Fuck that.
Jack, he was Googling some, what was it? The lyrics to... Yeah, he had to Google it just to know what it actually meant. It was some Arabic.
Just in case it wasn't some offensive Arabic.
Right.
I've got to go now.
We're gonna wrap it up here. I'll get some questions because it was very late notice, and I was just like totally didn't put any Q&A or question box up. So we'll leave it there. Comment down below. Camera if you've watched the whole thing. As ever, we really appreciate it. Lots of love. Thank you for the support. Make sure you tag it on your stories. We'll see you guys very soon. Bye.